Dear students, today we will discuss very interesting problem in quantum mechanics, that is quantum tunneling. Quantum tunneling has got its own applications in all domains domains of science. Especially chemistry has also got a couple of applications that we will see later at the end of our discussion on this particular topic. And quantum tunneling, in this particular topic, what we are going to study is essentially what is quantum tunneling. We will try to obtain an expression for tunneling probability, and we'll try to understand basically the tunneling probability expression which we are going to derive. And we will try to, at the end, as I just pointed out, we will try to understand the quantum tunneling applications that we come across in our chemistry, right? So that is the brief outline of my presentation today. Before going to the description of quantum tunneling, first of all, let me tell you a general observation that we encounter everyday life. Suppose you just imagine that we are walking towards a wall, and the height of the wall is, let's say it is 1 feet, right? Or maybe for the sake of discussion, not 1 feet, maybe you can take it as a 2 feet. Now what we do, can we go out other side of the wall or not? Definitely we can go to the other side of the wall, because the height of the wall is very much small, therefore it doesn't affect us in going the other side. We'll just jump over the wall and then we'll go. Then imagine the same wall if it is maybe some 6 feet, maybe 6 feet. Well, a person like you or me, we may not be able to jump the wall, but there are people, who are especially participating in Olympics, and then high jumpers are there, so they can actually even jump over even 6 feet also. Okay, and let's say if the height is 10 feet, and it is almost impossible, I would say, for a person, any person jumping, more than 10 or 15 feet wall. Why? Because that is, it is basically not at all possible. The height of the valley is too much to overcome, right? And all the same example, let me try to apply to a particle which behaves, which basically governed by the classical physics laws. Okay, let us imagine that we have a particle which totally governed by classical physics laws, and I put this wall. Okay, this is my wall, or and scientifically we say it is a barrier. Okay, and the height of the barrier I denote here as a potential energy. Okay, I denote the height of the barrier. So instead of using wall, I just replace that wall with a barrier, and instead of talking about the height of the wall, I'm saying that its energy is, its potential energy is V0, right? So we have chosen a barrier whose potential energy is V0, and in the y-axis basically the energy is represented. And now imagine we have a particle, and this particle is having this much amount of energy, and it is traveling from left hand direction to the right hand direction, and this is where the barrier actually starts. Okay, so this is our notation. So we got the tunneling probability expression, and from the expression we can understand very easily how tunneling probability changes with respect to the width of the barrier and height of the potential barrier, that is the potential energy, and the mass of the particle. So this can be very easily interpreted, and accordingly we can understand the physical concepts. And we will try to understand the expression a little more, and this is the tunneling probability expression that we have derived. Now, to understand in a better way, let me define two different dimensionless quantities. One is V0 by delta. I'm going to define V0 by delta is a dimensionless quantity, sorry, please correct my typographical error. It is a dimensionless quantity. I'm going to define like this. If delta is h cos square by 2ma square, basically this becomes a dimensionless quantity. Similarly, another dimensionless quantity, energy by energy. So this is another dimensionless quantity. So what we are going to do, or what I am going to do, that if we can basically plot how the ratio, that is the with respect to the energy ratio, that is the energy of the particle and also barrier potential energy, how it is changing. If it is changing with respect to something, then what is that? That something is with respect to energy. So how the sorry, I think let me put it the other way. How the transmission probability or the tunneling probability changes with respect to the ratio of the energy. The ratio of the energy here is E by V0, which is a dimensionless quantity. You can take on the x-axis and you can plot how the transmission probability is changing on the y-axis. Okay, for different values of basically V0 by delta. Okay, so I'm going to plot the tunneling probability on a graph. Okay, my x-axis is E by V naught. Okay, it is a dimensionless quantity, and on the y-axis I am plotting the transmission or tunneling probability. Okay, for different values of this quantity, that is V0 by delta. So how it is changing? Okay, before trying to understand the quantum particle behavior, let us try to understand what exactly happens if it is a classical particle. Okay, only then we can appreciate the expression what we have got. So first we will try to understand a quantum classical particle behavior graphically. If we represent how it will be. Okay, suppose E is less than V0. Okay, a classical particle cannot penetrate through the barrier, therefore the transmission probability is 0. Am I right? On the other hand, if E is greater than V0, then the transmission probability is 1. Right? So it is 0 initially. The moment the ratio is slightly above than the 1, then it suddenly jumps and the transmission probability reaches the maximum, that is 1. Right? That is the behavior. So you have a step behavior in the case of a classical particle. A classical particle, right? Its energy, but its energy by the potential energy ratio. If you take it, it is 0. If E is less than V0, the ratio will be less than 1. Okay, the ratio will be less than 1. This is where we have a 1. So the moment it reaches 1, then abruptly it becomes maximum, that is 1, and then it is steady. Okay, no matter what kind of energy it is having, or further it is acquiring or accumulating, so always its a transmission probability is 1 above certain energy, above the barrier potential energy. Right? So that is a simple explanation for a classical particle. Now, if my particle is a quantum particle, this behavior is something different. Okay, as you can see here that it depends upon the exponential function, right? So how it is changing, right? So this is what it is. Okay, as I told you, if the value of V0, this is a curve, the nature of the curve actually depends upon V0 by delta also, and this particular thing, it is taken to be, let's say for it is 35. If this ratio is changing, the nature of this transmission or the tunneling probability nature will be different. Okay, now in this case you can see here that the green line, so here this is 1, right? So below 1 there is some finite amount of energy, right? There is a finite probability, even and even the energy is less than 1, less than its barrier potential. Okay, you can see here. Whereas in the case of classical particle, it is total absolutely 0. But in this case, there is a finite tunneling probability when energy is less than 1. Above 1, that is when E is greater than V0, then naturally its ratio is going to be more than 1. In that case, what happens? Very interestingly here, this is something that I already pointed out in the introduction. So it is not 1. It is not 1 and it is something else. Okay, that is something that you should always remember. Okay, and suppose if I change the value further, okay, as I told you, for different V0 by delta, how the tunneling probability is changing with respect to E by V0, we are trying to understand, right? So this is for a 20. If the ratio of V0 by delta is 20, then basically the energy, so the tunneling probability will be more. The tunneling probability will be more. By the way, let me tell you what is this ratio. This ratio is something different. Is it the ratio is decreasing means what? V0 by delta is decreasing. Earlier it was 35. So you will see relatively it is a small tunneling probability when energy is below the energy, when its energy is less than the potential energy. But when its ratio is 20, that means when it is decreased, then it is having more tunneling probability even when its energy is less. Why is it so? How the ratio is different? See, to have a small ratio of V0 by delta, what we are supposed to do, the width of the barrier has to be decreased or increased. It has to be increased. When the width of the barrier is increasing, sorry, it has to be decreased, right? In order to have a small ratio, that is V0 by delta, the width has to be reduced. When it is reduced, then this quantity will be more. When the denominator is if the denominator value is increasing, then naturally V0 by delta value decreases. Okay, please remember that. So there is a indirectly proportional. So delta V is sitting in the denominator. Therefore, the ratio of V0 by delta can be reduced by manipulating two parameters, that is either through the mass or through the width of the barrier, right? So if you can actually increase that ratio, right, by decreasing the barrier width and also considering the smaller, lighter particles, so accordingly the tunneling probability increases. And suppose if you decrease further this ratio, and in fact this will have this type of behavior. So it is just a kind of a very nice tunneling exponential growth function. So what is the difference between these three curves? The three curves are different in only in one sense, that the V0 by delta is different. So it is a function. The tunneling probability is a function of V0 by delta. If the ratio decreases, and you will see that substantially there is the particle likely to tunnel through the barrier, and you will get more probability. Okay, you can see here initially when it is 35 it is small probability, and when it is 20 it is little more, and when it is 5 it is, that means it's even smaller ratio. Then it's a tunneling probability. You can see there is a substantial growth in the tunneling probability with decreasing the ratio of V0 by delta, right? So by manipulating the values of these M and A and the potential energy, so the tunneling probability can be understood. Okay, so this is something very different from the classical picture. The classical picture says that you have only step behavior. So as long as its energy is less than the potential energy of the barrier, then it is 0. And the moment its energy is equal to or more than the barrier potential energy, then suddenly it becomes 1 and then it remains same. But both are not possible in the case if you are considering the quantum particle. Your particle is, since your particle is a wave, it penetrates through the barrier and then it shows a different behavior than a classical particle. Not only that, and its probability, tunneling probability, never be 1, because it is exponential function. As you can realize, in the tunneling probability expression, it is exponential function. You know that the exponential function never be 0. The exponential decaying function never be 0, right? And at the same time, it never reaches the maximum limit also. So after infinite value, and x is infinity, only then it will reach either maximum or the minimum, that is 0, right? That's all from the derivation part. Of course, we have not gone to the wave equation, the exact form of the wave equation. The exact form of the wave equation can be taken up separately and then you can continue. But here what is important is to understand the tunneling probability, not to understand the tunneling, the particle behavior, the wave function of the tunneling particle, right? Of course, if you are interested, what you do, we have already got what is the wave function in the region number 1 and region number 2 and region number 3. You can take the product. And similarly, those values C, D, and also A, B, F, these are to be basically determined. And by continuing and you can take up further, and then it is possible to derive or obtain a complete wave function. That is possible, but that is not very much interesting for us as far as the tunneling, as far as to understand the tunneling probability. Okay, so that is why we have slightly deviated from there, and then we have derived a ratio, an expression. The tunneling probability is given by F by A, because the F actually indicates the number of particles tunneled through the barrier, and A represents the number of particles which are basically moving along the forward direction, right, towards the barrier. So therefore, just we have deviated and then we have obtained tunneling probability. And of course, certain cases it is very difficult to explain using a PowerPoint method, because unless we start writing the derivation part, you will not appreciate. So it's only thing that I can suggest to you that as I am going to share the complete presentation, you just take step by step and try to understand and make your own notes. And if you have any doubt in the derivation part, you are always welcome to discuss with me. I will clarify that doubt. Okay, I realize and I do admit that certain cases my explanation is not good, because unless you start writing what is this, and you will not appreciate any derivation part. Simply with a click it is coming and you don't understand what exactly it is. When we start writing one by one and it will come out, that time you will appreciate. Of course, that job I am giving it to you, so you just try to do that part yourself, and if you find it difficulty in deriving, then you let me know. But most of the clues or tricks to go to the to move from one step to the other step are being explained already. Okay, any doubt you can always welcome. And let us look at some of the very important applications. A qualitative picture of application I just want to share with you. With that, we will finish our discussion on quantum tunneling topic. The first and foremost is that an entire microscopy technique was developed just based on the tunneling concept, quantum tunneling concept. So using the quantum tunneling concept, a microscopic technique has been designed. So that is the first application I would say to all of you. Well, if you ask me what are the microscopy techniques and all, it takes very long time. to explain, but broadly you can remember that there are three type of microscopy techniques are there as far as I understand. One is optical microscopy technique, where we employ the light, optical light or laser light, to probe the surface of surfaces, and to understand what exactly is present on the surface. Okay, we will get the topography information. It's like we'll use light as a source. Okay, that is one category. Second category is that scanning probe technique. Scanning probe technique. So here we use some kind of a probe to scan the entire surface and to obtain the information, or the to look at the, or to visualize the features on the surfaces. So scanning probe technique. That is another one is electron microscopic technique. So scanning electron microscopy technique and transmission electron microscopic techniques comes under this category, where we use electron beam to understand, to probe the features, nano features on a surface. That is the another category. Now the second category is scanning probe, and the scanning probe we have actually STM and we do have AFM. STM means scanning tunneling microscopy, and AFM means atomic force microscopy technique. So I am not going to do details of any of those things, just to give you a broad idea I have given, but my concern is only scanning tunneling microscope. As the name suggests here, the tunneling concept is being employed to develop this. Okay, here you can just, any microscopic technique, as you already know, that it is used to visualize the features which you cannot see with the naked eye. Right, so you have a specimen. On the specimen, you have a some type of nano object which you cannot actually look at with your naked eye, and this is, if you want to look at these nano features, one technique is scanning tunneling technique. In the scanning tunneling technique, there is a probe which is a metallic tip. Okay, which is a metallic tip with a width of a few atoms. With a width of few atoms, it's like a tip. Just remember the size of your the ballpoint pen. Okay, so this tip is of the order of maybe 1 or 2 nanometer. That is the size of the tip, and this particular tip is actually, you can make it, and then that tip you can brought to the surface which you would like to explore what exactly is present. Okay, in this case, we normally, this particular scanning tunneling technique is also one mandatory condition is that the nano object which you would like to visualize has to be metallic. It has to be metallic or conducting. In other words, in a broad way, it has to be conducting. Otherwise, this particular technique will not work at all. Okay, now this tip, mechanically it is brought close to the when it is far from the nano object, therefore there will not be any current. Okay, so why? Because this is metallic, this tip is metallic, and this nanoparticle is also metallic. But when you actually brought closer and closer and closer to a distance, of course it is not going to contact to very close, but not it is not to be contact. Then at that position, what happens? Electron actually jumps from the tip to the metal, and which can actually senses by the circuit. So why the electron jumps? Because of the tunneling. So initially, when it is very far, okay, so you please remember that your tip is also metallic and nanoparticle is also metallic. So when it is very far, the barrier height is basically very high. You can think of the distance between these two is taken to be a barrier, and definitely the electron cannot jump such a huge thing. Unless you have a contact, the electron cannot actually pass through. So electron pass through a metallic wires or conducting material, right? So When it is very far, then definitely nothing happens. But when you are bringing closer and closer, and if you can bring to very close to the nanoparticle, what happens is that an electron or the electrons actually tunnel. They basically overcome the barrier which was there. Then they basically go to the uh, nanoparticles. So the moment they reach the nanoparticles, you can detect the current which is plotted. And now this particular thing, it is, it is moved mechanically from one place to the other place on the surface. You can basically move one place to the other place. So the surface, it is made up, it is basically prepared such that some of the area you will have nanoparticles, some of the area you will not have any nanoparticles. So where the moment it reaches an area where there is no nanoparticle, definitely the conduction doesn't take place. Why? Because there is no conducting thing. So there is no passage of the current. Electron cannot jump to the non-conducting thing. So only when there is a conducting nanoparticle, the electron can jump in, and then accordingly the current is produced, right? So the current is going to be a function of the area right now, because in different area you have different features. Some of the area you don't have, some of the area you have the particle. So you can actually move mechanically your probe on the entire surface, and you can actually obtain the images. Okay, so this is something that nano image is obtained. What you see on the right hand side is a STM diagram of a nano wire. It is actually plotted. You can see this blue is actually, these are not the true colors what you see, just the computer generated colors are given. This is the blue color. You can take it as a surface, and when you are moving the probe, metallic probe along on the entire given area, then you can exactly visualize what is the height of the particle and then length of the particle, and then uh, is there any halo nature, suppose if you are looking at the tubes, right? So all the features you can actually obtain. Well, the same thing, I just wanted to show to you a video. This is a video, you can actually find it in the Wikipedia. I just downloaded. I will show you a little bit, and then remaining thing you can actually look at the same thing in the Wikipedia. So what is the principle in scanning tunneling microscopy? I have explained, but you can look at animation. I hope that you got it, the animation or the small animated diagram where the mechanically it is moved from one place to the other place within the selected region, and depending upon the nature of the surface and where the particles are present, and accordingly you can will have a current, and then the current is being detected and it will be visualized. Now, another important aspect which I would like to discuss is the nuclear fission and abundant solar energy. We all know the solar energy is very much abundant, and it is a huge amount of solar energy, and the solar energy is mainly because of the nuclear fusion reactions. So what is nuclear fusion? And the nuclear fusion is the lighter particles combined together and give the massive particles. That is the simple definition of nuclear fusion reaction. And in the process, they generate huge amount of energy, and that energy is actually is radiated, and which we are actually getting, and that is in fact is responsible for the whole thing on the planet Earth. Then if you try to plot the energy diagram, Okay, the energy diagram, how you have a lighter particles, a hydrogen, and they are fusing together and forming a helium, let's say. And these hydrogens are bringing close to one another. So what is happening to the potential energy? If you try to plot that, so this that will have this type of energy. So okay, you have a lighter particle and you have another lighter particle. So the distance, if you try to reduce, okay, if you try to reduce this way, it is increasing the distance. And if you increase, if you decrease, what happens is that the potential energy, basically what happens, it will increase, increase, okay, and then the moment it reaches a maximum, okay, the potential energy of the two lighter nucleus actually increases. Why? Because both are hydrogens. So you have hydrogen electron cloud, and another hydrogen is also having electron cloud. Both electron clouds basically reflect, uh, uh, repel each other. So naturally, the potential energy actually increases. Increases means you have to show in the uh, uh, this is 0, so you have to show. And then after crossing certain distance, what happens, the electron cloud of one hydrogen atom started filling the vicinity of the hydrogen nucleus. Similarly, the other hydrogen electron feels the presence of the other nucleus. Therefore, there is attraction. That means basically that is attraction. Because of that, there is a sudden jump, sudden drop of the potential energy, and it goes like this. So why I'm discussing all this thing? It is because, you know, basically, in order the two nuclei to fuse together, in order to have the nuclear fission between the two lighter nuclei, basically there is a potential barrier, right? So this barrier has to be this is a barrier. This is the potential energy. This is the amount of potential energy that is present naturally. So they cannot just like that fuse it, right? Why? Because the electron cloud of one hydrogen atom, and or maybe one deuterium atom, and then another deuterium atom, and so they do not basically uh, will not allow that to happen. Okay, so that we say it is a barrier. Now, this barrier, because of this barrier, the fusion reaction should not happen, right? But what we see outside is the fusion is taking place, and a huge enormous amount of solar light is coming up. So how this is happening? Okay, even though yeah, there is a huge amount of barrier, okay, these lighter nuclei actually they are supposed to follow this path, but instead what they do, they don't follow that path. Instead of following this actual path, they will just tunnel through this. Okay, they just tunnel through this and then fuse each other. Okay, this is the path they take it instead of taking this path. So this is not taken, only this path is taking. That is why a huge amount of uh, energy is being released because of the fusion reactions. Okay, I'm sure that you understood. So nuclear fusion to happen, there is a huge barrier. That huge barrier has to be supplied externally, but where from that external amount of energy it will come? If they are moving here and there, that will come. Of course, the kinetic energy is the one. So, but the average kinetic energy of the lighter nuclei inside the sun is already estimated, but that is not that amount of very huge to overcome the barrier, right? So therefore, the most appropriate explanation, which was realized much later, is basically the lighter nuclei tunnel through the barrier, so they don't follow the actual route. Okay, that is why the enormous amount of energy is happening, because just they are fusing just after the tunneling. That is the another interesting thing. And enzyme kinetics is another vast subject, especially for biologists who study a lot of enzyme kinetic reactions of different things. I hope you know some basics of kinetics, and you have a kinetics and also the rate theory. And reactants basically has to pass through a transition state, and then you will have a transition state, and finally you will get the products, right? And many of the enzyme kinetic reactions that taken place in our body and living organisms are found to be much faster than what is expected. That is something that you might have known, like, the enzymes basically reduce the activation energy. That is how, without changing the initial and final stage of the products. So just they reduce the activation energy, and then that, as a result of which, the reaction takes place much faster. But some of the enzyme kinetic reactions are actually, it is happening like they don't go through this transition state. Rather, they uh, they just tunnel through this. Ideally, actually, these two reactants, they pass through a transition state. Okay, a transition state, and then afterwards they should form the products. But in fact, this is something that does not is not happening. The other thing is happening, like they are tunneled through the barrier, and the product is formed. So it has been observed in many of the enzymic reactions that they don't pass through this transition state. In fact, they just tunnel through and then form the products. Okay. And for example, what are those examples? Like electron tunneling is a key factor in many of the biological reaction like photosynthesis, cellular respiration, as well as enzymic kinetic. Similarly, more interestingly, proton transfer is also happening. Proton transfer and the enzymatic proton transfer and hydrogen transfer reactions are also known. Many of the uh, biological reaction that happens in our body are actually governed or catalyzed by proton, that is H plus, hydride, that is H minus. And for example, proton tunneling is a key factor in spontaneous DNA mutation. So this particular thing, that the proton, in order to have this mutation, uh, it should cross through some barrier, but it doesn't cross through the barrier. But mutation is what is happening. But in reality, mutation is happening. Why? Because that the barrier is overcome by through tunneling. And if you are interested, you can further go through these references. You can find a lot of articles. This is something that which I find is more interesting. Tunneling in proton transfer reactions in solution phase, which is published very long ago, 1969. And there is another famous person, Hans Schiffer. Research group is actively involved in simulating some of these quantum tunneling reactions, enzymatic quantum tunneling reactions, and it's a phenomenon. If you are interested, you can just go and look at it. Well, this is one video that I have taken from that particular Schaefer's group. Here you can see there are two enzymes, and those enzymes, how these hydride actually is a tunnel through. They have shown in a animated diagram, right? You can see the green one. Okay, so from one enzyme to one place to the other place, it is just tunneling through without, even though there is a huge gap between these two. You can see that there is a huge gap between this molecule and that another molecule, but then it is tunneling, and then it is transforming, it is going to the other counterpart. So this type of thing, you can find many of them in the literature. You can just, if you're interested, you can just go through it. Another interesting example which I have come across is this. A pressure sensitive touch screens. Pressure sensitive touch screens. This is something that it is still under developing stage, and hopefully very soon it will come out. I'm sure that most of you would be using nowadays, are using basically smartphones, and the smartphones technology is basically the either capacitive touch or the resistive touch. So the smartphone, you are just touching. When you are touching, and it is actually responding, the device is responding to your touch and then doing some function. So this is actually happening through the resistive mechanism or the capacitance mechanism. Resistive means that when you touch it on the surface of the conductor, so that bottom there is something, the resistance basically of the material is basically changing, and that is basically detected, and then it does a job what you would like to do, right? That is either capacitive touch or resistive touch. A similar thing that people wanted to develop a new touch screen which actually depends upon the pressure sensitive touch screen. Okay, so pressure wanted to be, they wanted to explore the pressure as the key factor in touch screen technology. So here what have, here they are basically trying to, they have developed already this material, and anytime, any point of time it will come out. Here they have developed nanoparticles, and they embedded in a polymer matrix, conducting polymer matrix. Of course, nanoparticle also conducting, sorry, they have developed a conducting nanoparticles, and they embedded in a polymer matrix. And they embedded in a polymer matrix. So in the matrix, the nanoparticles are there here and there. Now, the polymer is actually not allowing all these particles to come in contact with each other. Of course, sometimes it may happen, but some of them may contact, but on an average, they are not contact. They are separated by this polymer thing. Okay, so this is the polymer material, right? So you can imagine like the blue circles are the metal nanoparticles which are conducting, and the gray color zigzag things are polymer chains. Now, when you touch from the bottom, like when you touch on the, let's say on the top of the this one, what happens that you are creating a pressure, right? You are creating a pressure on that. So when you create a pressure, that pressure will be carried forward inside the inside this matrix, and then when you touch it, what happens is that the, okay, suppose if you have touched here, then initially the distance between this particle and this particle is some quantity. When you touch it, then naturally what happens, because of the pressure that you applied through your finger, the width is basically the distance between these two actually decreases, right? So initial case that there won't be any type of conductivity. Why? Because that is in the normal stage. But then the moment you touch it, because of the pressure, and then the one particle goes to closer to the other particle, and then basically the tunneling happens. The electron of this metal nanoparticle from one nanoparticle to the other nanoparticle jumps over, and then the electron, right? So from here to there, and there to here, and then here to there, and here to there, and then here to this other side of the electrode, basically it reaches and it basically senses. That's the idea of pressure sensitive touch screen. Okay, so some of the nanoparticles are actually developed, and then they are embedded in a polymer matrix, and this polymer matrix, they don't respond in a normal situation, but when you touch it, because of the pressure, and there is the distance between the nanoparticle basically reduces, as a result of which the current, the electron jumps over from one nanoparticle to the other nanoparticle, and then it basically does some function, right? So this is something that very soon it will come out, this type of technology, instead of using the resistive sensitive technology or the capacitive sensitive technology. And this is something that many of the leading mobile manufacturers are actually working on. And Samsung is the one, I think they have been working on this type of technology. Very soon it will come out, this technology. Well, that's all the application side. There are many other reactions and many other applications as well. You may find it in the internet. You can just go through it. Some of the interesting applications only I had taken because of the paucity of the time, but you are free to read. It is available in the internet, but essentially it is the one. So initially, the barrier can be the distance, some cases, the barrier can be some potential energy, like in the nuclear fusion, there is the potential energy, there is a huge potential energy. To fuse together, there is the electron-electron repulsion is the huge potential, which doesn't permit them to fuse. Okay? But how that is happening? That is happening because this potential energy is not supplied through is not supplied to the sun by any other means. Simply simply because they are tunneling through the barrier and then they are fusing together. In this particular case, the distance is the barrier. Similarly, in the STM case, the distance again is the barrier. Okay, then the distance is more, then the width. Please recall that one of the term that we have discussed is the width of the barrier. Okay, width of the barrier is more, then the particle cannot quantum particle cannot tunnel, or the tunneling probability decreases. Right. So when the width is decreased by either touch or by means of a mechanical movement, then naturally the electron from one nanoparticle to one conducting place to the other conducting region, it basically jump over, and then accordingly we will have a current generation in the circuit, which can be catched up, which can be captured, and you can detect that particular nano object, or maybe that some function can be done in the case of pressure sensitive touch screen. So that's all from my side with regard to the quantum tunneling. And let me summarize that in the quantum tunneling is a very simple concept which is really interesting. A particle doesn't have enough energy, which doesn't have enough amount of energy, but still it penetrates through the barrier, is referred to as a quantum tunneling. And then we have written the Schrodinger time independent Schrodinger wave equation, and we have got three different wave functions, and then we have actually obtained the tunneling probability expression through some type of little bit of lengthy derivation. Finally, we try to understand how the tunneling probability changes with respect to the potential energy and the mass of the quantum particle, and also the width of the barrier we have tried to understand. And finally, we have seen three or four applications with regard to the quantum tunneling. So the further, if you want to learn, probably you can go to you can refer the textbook and then read more. And from this, maybe a tunneling probability expression can be asked in the examination point of view, or maybe sometimes can you explain how the tunneling probability changes with respect to potential energy and width of the barrier and also the mass of the particle. A general question can be asked. Instead of derivation, we can ask a question like that. In that case, you can just start from the tunneling probability and then try to explain how things are changing with respect to these parameters or the variables. Suppose if you are asked to, you can also expect questions like what are the applications. Then I have explained three very briefly, but you can always read and then make up your own notes that, and then explain at least 3 or 4 applications if it is depending upon the marks which are allotted for the question. If it is 1 mark, you can just write down only the statements, but if it is 5 mark, then definitely at least 2-3 application should be written. Okay, if it is 2 mark, then at least one application can be written. So likewise, so based on the marks which are allotted, you can write down, you can give your answer. But these are some of the general questions you can expect from this topic. And some CSR point of view, some problems are also generally asked. Again, my explanation is saying that due to paucity of the time, that I'm not taking any numerical problems, but you are always free to read the textbook and then try to solve some of the problems. Right. With this, I have completed the quantum tunneling concept. Probably in the next class, we will discuss about the hydrogen atom problem. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, you can ask now. Otherwise, we can wind up.